The grand ballroom sparkled under golden chandeliers. Music pulsed through the air as children in designer clothes ran laughing across the marble floors. At the upscale birthday party, camera flashes lit up smiling faces. In the corner by the French windows sat a girl in a wheelchair, her small hands folded in her lap. Nobody came near her. A group of guests whispered and laughed. Such a shame. Her father should keep her at home. It's uncomfortable for everyone, really. Poor thing doesn't belong here. Suddenly a waitress in a simple black uniform walked past. She stopped. She turned back. She set down her tray of champagne flutes and approached the wheelchair. She knelt down. "Would you like to dance with me?" The girl looked up. Tears filled her dark eyes. Slowly she nodded. The whispers stopped. Everyone watched as they spun together under the crystal lights. On the private balcony above, a man in an expensive dark suit stood motionless, his face carved from stone. He was William Kapoor, the most feared man in the city, and he was watching everything. If you're ready to enjoy this story, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. Your support helps us in creating more amazing stories, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's jump right into the story. Crystal Kilmer was 25 years old. She worked as a waitress at Riverside events. Every morning she woke before dawn. She served breakfast at a diner. She cleaned houses in the afternoon. She worked parties at night. Most people barely noticed her. To them, she was just the help. The woman in the black uniform. The one who refilled glasses and disappeared into the background. But Crystal had a story. A story nobody bothered to ask about. 6 years ago, she was 19 years old. She had a full scholarship to study teaching. She had dreams. She had plans. She had hope. Then the car accident happened. Both parents gone in an instant. Crystal was left alone with her brother Marcus. He was only 14 years old. She had no relatives nearby. No support system. Just funeral costs that crushed her. Medical bills. A mortgage on the family home. She gave up her scholarship. The university couldn't hold her spot. So she took whatever work she could find. Waitressing paid the bills. Barely. But it was enough to keep Marcus fed. Enough to keep a roof over their heads. Enough to save a little for his future. Now Marcus was 20 years old. In his third year of pre-med at State University. He had his mother's intelligence. His father's determination. Every day he told her the same thing. "You're the strongest person I know, Crystal." Crystal kept a small reminder in her apron pocket. An old photo. Her mother's face smiling back at her. On the back, her mother's handwriting. "Take care of each other and never walk past someone who needs help." She looked at it during her breaks. After long shifts. It kept the memory close. At the same party tonight, there was a little girl. Her name was Kim. She was 6 years old. She sat in a wheelchair. Cerebral palsy had affected her legs from birth. But her mind was sharp. Her heart was full. Kim was quiet. She watched from the corner. Other children avoided her. Not because she was mean, but because she was different. And different made people uncomfortable. Her father was William Kapoor. Everyone knew that name. Mafia boss. Head of the most powerful criminal organization in the state. One of the most dangerous men in the country. But William was rarely seen in public. He built walls around himself. Cold. Ruthless. Untouchable. People said he had no mercy. They were wrong. He had mercy. It just belonged entirely to his daughter. Tonight was a classmate's birthday party. An exclusive celebration at a private estate. Parents dressed in designer labels. Children wore custom outfits. The ballroom was decorated with golden balloons and elaborate floral arrangements. Crystal was working that night. Someone had to serve the champagne. She didn't mind. The extra hours meant extra money. Marcus needed new textbooks. Rent was due. She watched from the side as families arrived. Laughter filled the air. Camera flashes lit up smiling faces. It was a beautiful scene. A celebration of wealth and childhood joy. But Crystal noticed something. In all that happiness, one person sat alone.
Kim.
Her wheelchair was parked in the corner. Her father hadn't appeared yet, and nobody was talking to her. Crystal felt something tighten in her chest. She knew that loneliness. She had felt it herself. After her parents died. The feeling of being invisible, of not mattering. She gripped her serving tray. Then she looked at the photo in her pocket. She could almost hear her mother's voice. Never walk past someone who needs help, Crystal. Never. She took a deep breath. Tonight was going to be different. She could feel it. The music started. A cheerful pop song played through the speakers. Children rushed to the makeshift dance floor. Parents stood along the walls, recording videos on their phones. Servants glided through with trays of hors d'oeuvres. Kim sat perfectly still. She wore a beautiful pink dress. Her father had picked it out specially. But what good was a beautiful dress when you couldn't dance? A group of children walked past her. They whispered, just loud enough for her to hear. Look at her. She can't even walk. Why did she even come? This is a dance. I feel bad for her. But what's the point? Kim's small hands gripped the armrests of her wheelchair. Her knuckles turned white. She stared down at her lap. She wanted to disappear. Nearby, a cluster of guests chatted over champagne. One woman laughed a little too loud. Did you see that disabled girl in the corner? Poor thing. I heard her father is that Mafia boss William Kapoor. All that power, all that money, but it can't buy his daughter normal legs, can it? How tragic. He really should have kept her at home. It makes everyone uncomfortable. They laughed again, sipped their champagne, turned away. Crystal was refilling glasses at a nearby table. She heard every word. Her hands trembled. Anger burned in her chest. She watched Kim's shoulders curve inward with each cruel comment. The little girl was trying so hard not to cry. Crystal set down her tray. Her shift supervisor would be furious. She could lose this job. Lose the income Marcus needed. Lose everything. But her mother's voice was louder than fear. She walked toward the wheelchair. The guests near Kim fell silent. Watching. Disapproving. Crystal knelt down. Eye level with Kim. She smiled. Warm and genuine. Would you like to dance with me? Kim's eyes went wide. Disbelief. Then tears spilled over. She nodded. Eagerly. Desperately. Crystal gently took hold of the wheelchair handles. She carefully pushed Kim onto the open floor space. And then she moved. With grace.
With joy. Spinning.
Swooping. Creating something beautiful. Kim's face transformed. She was radiant. Laughing with pure delight. Some of the children stopped playing. They watched. Seeing something their parents' prejudice had hidden from them. The judgmental guests escalated their contempt. Whispers grew louder. Absolutely inappropriate. Who does she think she is? The help should know her place. Someone needs to stop this. Wait until Mr. Kapoor finds out what she did to his daughter. Crystal heard the name.
Kapoor.
Her blood turned to ice.
But she didn't stop dancing.
She wouldn't give Kim's moment of joy back to the cruelty of this room. The entire ballroom grew quiet. An unnatural hush fell over the celebration. Crystal looked up. Everyone was staring at something behind her. Their faces had gone pale. She turned. A man descended the grand staircase. His presence transformed the atmosphere from festive to fearful. Expensive dark suit. Gold watch. Cold eyes. Every step was measured. Controlled. Terrifying. William Kapoor. The most dangerous man in the city. Walking directly toward her. Crystal's heart pounded. But she didn't let go of Kim's wheelchair. She wouldn't run. Wouldn't abandon this little girl to face her father's reaction alone. William stopped 3 feet away. The ballroom held its breath. And on Kim's face, beneath the tears of joy, was something that changed everything. Hope. 6 years earlier, Crystal Kilmer stood in her childhood bedroom. She held an acceptance letter. Full scholarship to State University. Teaching program. Her mother had cried happy tears when it arrived. Her father had lifted her off the ground, spinning her around just like she used to spin him when she was little. You're going to change lives, Crystal, her mother had said. You're going to be the teacher you always dreamed of being.
That was May.
By August, both her parents were gone. The drunk driver ran a red light, T-boned their sedan on the passenger side. Her father died instantly. Her mother held on for 3 days. Long enough to squeeze Crystal's hand. Long enough to whisper, "Take care of Marcus. Take care of each other. And never walk past someone who needs help." Then she was gone too. Crystal was 19 years old. Marcus was 14.
Scared. Grieving.
Looking at her like she had all the answers. The funeral costs ate through their small savings. The mortgage payments kept coming. Insurance covered some things. Not enough. Never enough. The university tried to work with her. But scholarships had deadlines. Attendance requirements. She couldn't start classes and care for a traumatized teenager. She couldn't leave Marcus alone. So she deferred. Then deferred again. Eventually the letter came. They were sorry. They had to give her spot to someone else. Crystal folded that letter carefully. Put it in a drawer. She never looked at it again. She started applying for jobs. Anything. Everything. Her first position was at Mel's Diner. 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. Waitressing. Her feet ached after the first week. Blisters formed.
Popped.
Formed again. She learned to smile through the pain. Learned to laugh at jokes that weren't funny. Learned that bigger smiles meant bigger tips. In the afternoons, she cleaned houses. Rich people's homes. She scrubbed toilets. Vacuumed carpets. Dusted shelves lined with books she'd never have time to read. Sometimes she paused. Looked at family photos on mantels. Mother. Father. Children. Everyone smiling. Everyone whole. She worked fast. Never lingered. Time was money. At night, she took a third job. Overnight stocking at Savamart. 10 at night until 4 in the morning. She unloaded trucks. Stacked shelves. Arranged products in perfect rows. The fluorescent lights hummed. The store was empty except for her and 2 other stalkers. Men who didn't ask questions. Who understood that survival meant working until your body screamed. She slept from 5 until 9:30. Then started again. Marcus never knew about the third job. She told him she had trouble sleeping anyway.
Told him she was fine.
He was smart enough not to believe her, but young enough to need to. Every night before bed, Crystal did 2 things. First, she polished her work shoes. Black flats from a discount store. Worn thin at the heels. Scuffed at the toes. She kept them pristine. Shined them until they almost looked expensive. Dignity cost nothing but effort. Second, she looked at the photo. Her mother. Smiling in the backyard garden. The one she'd kept in her apron pocket for 6 years. On the back, that message written in her mother's careful handwriting. The reminder. The promise. The weight she carried. Crystal put Marcus through high school. Helped with homework between shifts. Showed up to parent-teacher conferences exhausted but present. Celebrated when he got accepted to state university. Pre-med. Full scholarship. Everything she'd lost, he'd found. She was 25 now. Marcus was 20. Still in school. Still depending on her. Still worth every sacrifice. Her teaching dreams had become someone else's reality. Some other graduate stood in front of classrooms. Shaped young minds. Made a difference. Crystal refilled champagne glasses at parties where people spent more on decorations than she earned in a month. But every night, she polished her shoes. Every night, she looked at her mother's photo. And tonight, when she saw Kim sitting alone, she heard that voice again. Clear as a bell. Never walk past someone who needs help. So she didn't. The party had been in full swing for an hour when Crystal first noticed the whispers. She was refilling champagne glasses at a table near the French windows. For mothers. Designer dresses. Diamond earrings that caught the light. They huddled close. Voices low, but not low enough. "I'm sorry, but it's just uncomfortable," the woman in red said. She gestured with her champagne flute toward Kim's corner. "Having that child here. At a party like this." "I know exactly what you mean," another agreed. She wore pearls. Real ones. William Kapoor should have known better than to bring her. It dampens the whole mood. Poor thing, the third woman added. But there was no sympathy in her voice. Just dismissal.
She just sits there,
staring. It makes everyone feel awkward. Honestly, there are facilities for children like that, the woman in red continued. Places where she'd be more comfortable, where she'd fit in. This isn't the environment for someone with her condition. They sipped their champagne, laughed about something else, moved on to discussing vacation homes in the Hamptons. Crystal's hands trembled. The bottle in her grip felt heavy. She wanted to pour the champagne over their perfectly styled hair, wanted to tell them exactly what she thought of their cruelty. But she couldn't. She needed this job. Needed every dollar. She moved to the next table, tried to steady her breathing. Near the dance floor, a group of children clustered together. 7 or 8 of them. Around Kim's age. Maybe a year older. They whispered too. Children learned from their parents. Absorbed their poison like sponges. A boy in a tiny suit pointed at Kim. My mom said we shouldn't go near her. She said disabled kids are fragile. My dad said she's probably contagious, a girl in a yellow dress added. She wrinkled her nose. Like we could catch what she has. That's not how it works, stupid, another boy said. But he didn't move toward Kim either. She just can't walk. But still, it's weird. Why would she even come to a dance party? Maybe she doesn't know she's different, the girl suggested. Maybe her brain doesn't work right either. They giggled, ran off to play a game, making sure to give Kim's wheelchair a wide berth. Kim sat perfectly still. Crystal watched her from across the room. The little girl's face was carefully blank, but her shoulders curved inward.
slowly.
With each passing comment, each deliberate avoidance, she was folding into herself, trying to become smaller, trying to disappear. A woman in scrubs stood near Kim's wheelchair. Her nurse, middle-aged, kind eyes. She'd adjusted Kim's dress twice, offered her juice 3 times. Kim had refused each time. The nurse looked around the ballroom, helpless, angry, but powerless to change anything. She caught Crystal's eye for just a moment. A flash of shared understanding. 2 women who saw the cruelty, who felt it, who couldn't stop it. Crystal returned to the service station, picked up a fresh tray of canapés. Her supervisor nodded approval. Table 7 needs appetizers. Move quickly. Crystal moved, but her eyes kept drifting back to that corner. More parents gathered near the bar. Their voices carried. It's really quite selfish of Kapoor, a man in a tuxedo said, subjecting everyone to this. We're trying to celebrate. Children should be playing, running around, not confronted with that. Someone should say something to him, his wife agreed. But who would dare? You know his reputation. Money and power don't change reality, another woman interjected. That poor child will never be normal. Never dance. Never run. Never have a real life. It's tragic. Absolutely tragic. The kindest thing would be to keep her at home, the first man concluded. Away from situations like this. For her own sake. They nodded, convinced of their own compassion. Kim's small hands gripped her armrests, knuckles white. She stared at her pink dress, at her legs that wouldn't move the way other children's did, at the party happening all around her. Without her, Crystal set down her tray. Her mother's voice echoed, louder than fear, louder than self-preservation. She walked toward the wheelchair. Crystal knelt down. The marble floor was cold against her knee. She was eye level with Kim now, close enough to see the tears the little girl was fighting to hold back, close enough to see the trembling in her small hands. Hi, Crystal said softly. My name is Crystal. Kim looked up, surprised that someone was speaking to her. Actually speaking to her. Not about her. Not around her. To her. Would you like to dance with me? Kim's eyes went wide. Disbelief flooded her face. Her mouth opened slightly. No sound came out. Then the tears she'd been holding broke free. They spilled down her cheeks. But she nodded. Eagerly. Desperately. Like Crystal had just offered her the world. Crystal smiled. Genuine warmth. Then let's dance. She stood and moved behind the wheelchair, gently grasped the handles. The nurse stepped back, nodding permission, gratitude in her eyes. Crystal pushed the wheelchair forward, slowly at first, navigating around clusters of guests who stepped aside with shocked expressions. She headed toward the open space near the dance floor, where the marble gleamed under the golden chandeliers, where the music played. The conversations around them faltered.
Died.
People turned to watch. Crystal didn't care. She began to move, gliding across the floor. She spun the wheelchair in a smooth circle. Kim gasped. A sound of pure surprise. Pure joy. Crystal swept forward, then back, creating figure eights, swooping motions. She moved with grace, with confidence, with love for this moment she was giving to a child who'd been denied so much. The music swelled, a cheerful melody, perfect timing. Crystal spun Kim faster. The wheelchair twirled under the crystal chandeliers. Light sparkled off the fixtures above, cast dancing shadows across the floor. Kim's pink dress fluttered. Her hair lifted in the movement, and Kim's face transformed. The careful blankness shattered. The defensive walls crumbled. She was radiant, glowing. Her smile stretched wide. Genuine laughter bubbled up from her chest. Not polite laughter, not restrained, real laughter. The kind that came from deep joy, from being seen, from mattering. Again, Kim shouted. Spin me again. Crystal laughed too. Spun her. Again. And again. Some of the children stopped running, stopped their games. They stood at the edge of the dance floor, watching, really watching, seeing Kim's joy, seeing her face light up, seeing something their parents' prejudice had hidden from them, seeing that the girl in the wheelchair was just a girl who wanted to dance, a girl who could be happy. One little boy tilted his head, curious. She looks like she's having fun, he said to his friend. Yeah, the friend agreed. She does. But the adults reacted differently. The whispers escalated, grew harsher, more cutting. Absolutely inappropriate, a woman hissed. What does that waitress think she's doing? Who does she think she is? Another demanded. That's not her place. That's not her role. Someone needs to put her in her place, a man said coldly. This is completely out of line. She's making a spectacle, the woman in red snapped. This is a high-class event, not some charity performance. Where's the event coordinator? Someone else asked. This needs to be stopped immediately. That child's father will be furious, another predicted. That waitress has no idea what she's done. No idea who she's dealing with. She touched the girl without permission, a mother said, voice dripping with false concern. That's practically assault. Someone call security. The voices built on each other. A crescendo of judgment, of outrage, of people who felt their carefully ordered world had been disrupted by someone who refused to know her place. Crystal heard every word. She kept dancing. Kim was laughing, really laughing, her head thrown back, her arms raised in delight. She was 6 years old, and in this moment she was just a little girl at a party, dancing under the chandeliers, being included, being celebrated. Crystal would burn every bridge for this moment. She would lose every job. She would face whatever came next, because some things mattered more than safety. Some things were worth the cost. The music played on, and they danced. On the private balcony above, William Kapoor stood motionless. His hands gripped the railing, knuckles white, jaw clenched. He'd been standing there for 43 minutes, watching, listening, cataloging every face, every word, every deliberate cruelty. William Kapoor was 42 years old. He controlled the largest criminal organization in 3 states: drug distribution, money laundering, protection rackets, political corruption. His empire stretched from the docks to the state capitol. Men twice his size trembled when he entered a room. Politicians returned his calls within minutes. Police chiefs looked the other way. He'd built his reputation on ruthlessness, on making examples of those who crossed him. on never showing weakness, never showing mercy. People called him the monster. They weren't entirely wrong. But monsters could love too. Kim was his entire world. His only child. His daughter. Born 6 years ago in a delivery room where everything went wrong. The umbilical cord wrapped around her neck. Oxygen deprivation. Brain damage. Cerebral palsy. The doctors said she'd never walk. Never run. Never dance. And her mother never left that delivery room alive. Sarah had died bringing Kim into the world. Hemorrhaged before the surgeons could stop the bleeding. William held her hand as she slipped away. Watched the light leave her eyes. The last thing Sarah said was protect her. 2 words. A command. A dying wish. William had failed at many things. But he would not fail at that. He gave Kim everything. The best doctors. The best therapists. The best equipment. A mansion with ramps and grab bars. Nurses around the clock. Private tutors. Anything she wanted. Everything money could buy. But money couldn't buy her friends. Couldn't buy acceptance. Couldn't buy normalcy. Kim had begged to come to this party. Classmate's birthday. Invitation had arrived 2 weeks ago. Pink envelope. Kim had held it like treasure. Daddy, please. I want to go. I want to be with the other kids. Please. William wanted to say no. Wanted to protect her from what he knew would happen. But she looked at him with Sarah's eyes. Hopeful. Innocent. Still believing the world could be kind.
So he said yes.
And he came with her. But deliberately stayed hidden. A test. He needed to know how people treated his daughter when they thought he wasn't watching. Needed to see their true faces. He'd seen them. He'd heard every word from those mothers near the windows. Heard them call his daughter an inconvenience. A mood killer. Something that should be hidden away. He'd watched children avoid Kim like she was contagious. Watched his daughter shrink into herself. Watched her try so hard to be invisible. To not be a burden. His empire was built on violence. He could destroy every person in this ballroom with a phone call. Could ruin their businesses. Empty their bank accounts. Make them disappear. But that wouldn't give Kim what she needed. That wouldn't give her friends. Wouldn't give her acceptance. Wouldn't give her the simple joy of being treated like a normal child at a birthday party. He was the most powerful man in the city. And he was helpless to give his daughter the one thing she wanted most. To belong. Then the waitress appeared. William watched her set down her tray. Watched her walk toward Kim's wheelchair. Watched her kneel.
Speak.
Offer something no one else had.
A dance.
He watched Kim's face transform. Watched his daughter laugh. Really laugh. The sound carried up to the balcony.
Pure.
Unrestrained. Joyful. William's throat tightened. The waitress spun Kim under the chandeliers. Made her feel beautiful. Made her feel included. Made her feel like she mattered. And she did it knowing the entire room was judging her. Knowing she was risking everything. William heard the escalating comments. The outrage. The threats. He cataloged those faces too. This waitress. This stranger in a simple black uniform. She'd given his daughter something he couldn't. Something all his power and money and fear couldn't create. She'd given Kim dignity. She'd given her joy. She'd treated her like a child instead of a tragedy. William released the railing. Straightened his suit jacket. Adjusted his cufflinks. It was time to descend. Time to show these people what happened when you showed cruelty to his daughter. And what happened when someone showed her kindness. He walked toward the staircase. The ballroom was about to change forever. The song ended. The final notes faded into silence. Crystal slowed the wheelchair. Brought it to a gentle stop. Kim was still laughing. Breathless. Her cheeks flushed pink with joy. Her eyes sparkled. That was amazing, Kim whispered. Thank you. Thank you so much. Crystal smiled. Squeezed the little girl's shoulder gently. You're a wonderful dancer. She began to will Kim back toward her corner. Back to the French windows where she'd been sitting. The crowd parted. Nobody met Crystal's eyes. But the whispers followed her. Sharp. Cutting. Inevitable. Wait until someone tells Mr. Kapoor, a woman hissed. Close enough for Crystal to hear. That waitress is finished. She'll be fired before the night is over, another predicted. Voice dripping with satisfaction. Probably arrested too. Touching the girl, without permission. She's probably trying to get attention, a man said. Maybe hoping for a payout. Happens all the time with the help. Mr. Kapoor will destroy her, someone else added. He doesn't tolerate people touching his daughter. Everyone knows that. Crystal's steps faltered. Mr. Kapoor. Kim's father. The little girl she'd just danced with was the daughter of someone important. Someone dangerous. The name registered. Clicked into place. William Kapoor. Her blood ran cold. She'd heard that name before. Everyone in the city had. Mafia boss. Crime lord. The man who made people disappear. The man who owned half the politicians and terrified the other half. She'd just danced with his daughter, without permission. Crystal's hands trembled on the wheelchair handles. Fear coursed through her. Marcus flashed through her mind. His tuition. Their rent. The life she'd built through 6 years of grinding work. All of it could disappear. She could disappear. But she looked down at Kim. At the joy still radiating from the little girl's face. At the way her small hands clutched the armrests. Not with tension anymore. With excitement. With happiness. Crystal wouldn't show regret. She wouldn't take it back. Not for anything. She kept walking. Chin up. Professional. Even as her heart hammered against her ribs. Then the ballroom changed. The whisper stopped. Mid-sentence. Mid-breath. Complete silence fell over the space. The kind of silence that screamed danger. Crystal felt it before she understood it. The temperature seemed to drop. The air grew heavy. She looked up. Everyone was staring at the grand staircase. Frozen. Faces pale. Some people had stopped mid-gesture. Champagne glasses halfway to lips. Conversations died on tongues. A man descended the stairs. Expensive dark suit. Perfectly tailored. Dark hair styled back. Strong jaw. Cold eyes that swept across the ballroom like a predator cataloging prey. He moved with controlled grace. Each step measured. Deliberate. Powerful. The crowd shifted.
Parted.
Created a path without being asked. People stepped back instinctively. Some stumbled in their haste to get out of his way. William Kapoor. The most feared man in the city. Kim's father. And he was walking directly toward Crystal. His face was unreadable.
Stone.
No emotion visible. But his eyes. His eyes were locked on her. Not his daughter. Her. Crystal's breath caught. She wanted to run. Wanted to apologize. Wanted to beg. But her mother's voice whispered. Quiet but firm. Stand your ground. You did nothing wrong. So she stood. She didn't move away from Kim's wheelchair. Didn't abandon the little girl to face her father alone. She straightened her spine. Met his gaze. Even though every instinct screamed to look away. William crossed the ballroom. The silence was absolute. No music. No conversation. No laughter. Just the sound of his footsteps on marble. Steady. Relentless. He stopped 3 feet away from Crystal. Towering. Intimidating. The most dangerous man she'd ever been this close to. Everyone held their breath. Crystal could hear her own heartbeat. Could feel Kim's small hand reaching up. Grasping her fingers. Holding on. William looked at his daughter first. Then at Crystal. His expression still unreadable. And then he spoke. William didn't speak immediately. He reached into his jacket pocket.
Pulled out his phone.
The silence stretched. Unbearable. Suffocating. He tapped the screen. Once.
Twice.
Then held it up. A voice played from the speaker.
Clear.
Crisp. Time-stamped. I'm sorry, but it's just uncomfortable. Having that child here. At a party like this. The woman in the red dress gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. Her face drained of color. The recording continued. William Kapoor should have known better than to bring her. It dampens the whole mood. Poor thing. She just sits there. Staring. It makes everyone feel awkward. Honestly, there are facilities for children like that. This isn't the environment for someone with her condition. William's security system. He'd recorded everything. Every word. Every cruel comment. Time-stamped.
Documented.
Undeniable. He played more. That disabled girl in the corner. All that power. All that money. But it can't buy his daughter normal legs, can it? He really should have kept her at home. It makes everyone uncomfortable. The guests who'd spoken stood frozen. Terror etched across their faces. Some tried to back away, to disappear into the crowd. But there was nowhere to hide. William's eyes found each one.
Marked them.
He lowered the phone. His voice was quiet, controlled, but it cut through the silence like a blade. I heard every word. The ballroom seemed to shrink. People pressed back against the walls. I watched you, William continued. Each word measured. Devastating. I watched you teach your children that disability is shameful. That my daughter is something to avoid. Something to whisper about. Something that doesn't belong. He took a step forward. The crowd collectively flinched. I watched you turn a celebration into a lesson in cruelty. And you did it so casually. So easily. As if my daughter's pain was simply the background noise of your entertainment. The woman in red started to speak. Mr. Kapoor, I didn't mean... Silence. One word. She went silent immediately. Tears streaming down her face. William turned. Slowly. His gaze landed on Crystal. The guests braced. This was it. The moment the waitress would be destroyed. Some actually winced, anticipating what would come next. But William's expression shifted. Just slightly. Something that might have been respect. This woman, he said, gesturing to Crystal. Do you know who she is? No one answered. Her name is Crystal Kilmer. She's 25 years old. 6 years ago, her parents were killed in a car accident. She was 19, about to start college on a full teaching scholarship. But she had a younger brother, Marcus, only 14 years old. So she gave up her scholarship, gave up her dreams, started working. Crystal's breath caught. How did he know this? She works 3 jobs, William continued. Voice still quiet, still controlled. Waitressing, house cleaning, overnight stocking. She sleeps 4 hours a night. She's put her brother through high school and is now paying for his medical school education. She's sacrificed everything for 6 years to give him a future. The guests stared at Crystal, seeing her differently,
Seeing her for the first time.
This woman, William said, voice hardening, who you look down on because she serves your drinks, who you don't even notice unless your glass is empty, has more honor in her worn shoes than all of you have in your designer clothes combined. He stepped closer to Crystal. She held her ground. She saw my daughter. She didn't see a tragedy, didn't see an inconvenience, didn't see something to avoid. She saw a child who wanted to dance. And she gave her that. She gave her dignity. She gave her joy. William's eyes swept the ballroom. And she did it knowing it might cost her everything. Knowing you would judge her. Knowing she could lose her job. Knowing she was risking her brother's future. But she did it anyway. Because it was right. He turned back to the crowd. His voice dropped. Deadly quiet. That's courage. That's honor. That's humanity. And not one of you showed any of it tonight. The silence was complete. Absolute. Crushing. William looked at his daughter. Kim was crying, but smiling, holding Crystal's hand like a lifeline. Then he looked at Crystal again.
Thank you, he said.
Simply.
Sincerely.
For seeing her. Shame swept through the ballroom like a wave. Visible. Palpable. The woman in red was crying openly now. Others stared at the floor. At their expensive shoes. At anything except William Kapoor's face. Except Crystal. Except Kim. A man in a tuxedo stepped forward. Hands raised. Placating. Mr. Kapoor, I want to apologize. I didn't realize. William raised one hand. A simple gesture. The man went silent immediately. Stepped back. I don't want your apologies, William said. Voice still quiet. Still controlled. I want you to remember this moment. Remember what you did. And what you failed to do. No one else attempted to speak. Then something shifted. A small movement at the edge of the crowd. A little boy, maybe 7 years old. He stepped away from his mother, walked toward Kim's wheelchair. Nervous but determined. He stopped a few feet away. "Hi, Kim." Kim looked up.
Surprised.
Hopeful. Do you want to play tag with us? The boy gestured to his friends behind him. "We can make it work. Like, you could be on a team, and we could push your wheelchair really fast. That would be fun. Right?" Kim's face lit up. "Really? You want me to play?" "Yeah," the boy said, shrugging like it was obvious. "You're here. Why wouldn't we?" Other children approached. Slowly at first. Then more confidently. Freed from their parents' example.
Seeing what the boy saw.
A classmate. A friend. Someone who wanted to play. "Can we decorate your wheelchair with balloons?" a girl asked. "It would look so cool." "I can push you in the game," another boy offered. "I'm really fast." "We could play Simon Says," a third child suggested. "Everyone can play that." Kim nodded eagerly, tears streaming down her face. But happy tears. Grateful tears. The nurse moved to help, but William gestured for her to wait. Let Kim have this. Let her just be a child with other children. The party transformed. Children improvised. Made activities wheelchair accessible without being told. Pushed Kim at top speed during tag. Included her in every game. Made her the center of their celebration instead of the corner they avoided. The parents watched in uncomfortable silence. Forced to see what their prejudice had hidden. Forced to watch their children show the compassion they'd failed to demonstrate. William turned to Crystal. "May I speak with you privately?" Crystal nodded. Her voice finally returned. "Of course." Before they could move, Kim wheeled herself over. She moved the chair with practiced ease, navigating around people, around furniture. She stopped in front of Crystal. Kim reached up. Crystal knelt instinctively. The little girl wrapped her arms around Crystal's neck, held tight. "Thank you for seeing me," Kim whispered, voice muffled against Crystal's shoulder. "Thank you for making me real." Crystal's throat tightened. She hugged Kim back.
Gently. Carefully.
"You are always real, sweetheart. Always." Kim pulled back, wiped her eyes, smiled, then wheeled away to rejoin the other children. Her laughter carried across the ballroom.
Pure.
Joyful.
Free.
Crystal stood. Her legs felt unsteady. The adrenaline was fading. Reality was setting in. She'd just danced with a Mafia boss's daughter. He knew everything about her life. And now he wanted to speak privately. The ballroom doors opened. Marcus walked in, early to pick her up. He stopped immediately. Took in the scene. The silent adults. The playing children. His sister standing next to William Kapoor. The William Kapoor. His eyes went wide. "Crystal?" She gave him a small wave. Tried to smile, reassuringly. It probably didn't work. Marcus crossed the ballroom quickly. Protective. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine," Crystal said. She hoped it was true. William extended his hand to Marcus. "You must be Marcus. Medical school. Pre-med, 3rd year." Marcus shook his hand automatically.
Stunned. "Yes, sir."
"How did you?" "Your sister is remarkable," William said simply. "I'd like to speak with her privately. Just for a moment. You have my word she's perfectly safe." Marcus looked at Crystal. She nodded. "Okay," Marcus said. Still bewildered. Still processing. William gestured toward a door at the back of the ballroom. "A private study. This way, please." Crystal followed. Her worn shoes clicking softly on marble. The ballroom watched them go. And wondered what happened next. The study was quiet. Peaceful. Dark wood paneling. Leather chairs. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. A massive window overlooking the gardens below. The party noise was muted here. Distant. Almost unreal. William closed the door. Gestured to a chair. "Please. Sit." Crystal sat. Her hands folded in her lap. Professional. Despite everything. Despite the exhaustion. Despite the fear still humming under her skin. William moved to a cabinet. Poured 2 glasses of water. Brought one to Crystal. She took it. grateful.
Her throat was dry.
He sat across from her. Not behind the desk. Just across. Eye level.
Equal.
I want to offer you a position, William said.
Direct.
No preamble. Managing operations for my legitimate business holdings. Real estate development. Import companies. Nothing illegal. Nothing dangerous. Work you're overqualified for. A salary that would change your life. And your brother's. Crystal's hand tightened on the glass. She'd expected something.
But not this.
I don't need your pity, she said quietly. Firmly. William's expression didn't change. This isn't pity. Then what is it?
Crystal met his eyes.
Charity? Guilt? Payment for dancing with your daughter? Recognition, William said. Simple. Honest. For 6 years I've tried to give my daughter everything. The best doctors. The best therapists. The best education. The best life money can buy. I've used every resource. Every connection. Every ounce of power I have. He paused. Looked at his hands. Strong hands. Dangerous hands. Hands that had built an empire and protected one little girl. But tonight, William continued. Voice softer now. A waitress with nothing gave her what I couldn't. You gave her proof that she matters. That she's worthy of kindness without calculation. Without agenda. You saw her as a child who wanted to dance. Not as my daughter. Not as a tragedy. Just as Kim. Crystal's throat tightened. I need people like you, William said. People with genuine character. People who do the right thing even when it's costly. Even when it's dangerous. Even when everyone tells them not to. I'm not special, Crystal said. I just did what anyone should do. But no one else did, William replied. That's the point. You stood alone. That's rare. That's valuable. And in my world, I need people I can trust. People who won't compromise their integrity for money or fear. Crystal was silent.
Processing.
This was real. He was serious. I'm not asking you to work in my criminal operations, William clarified. I'm asking you to run my legitimate businesses. To manage properties. Handle contracts. Work you'd be good at. Work that would let you sleep more than 4 hours a night. Work that would give Marcus security. Give you security. And what do you get? Crystal asked. Always questions. Always cautious. Someone I can trust, William said. Someone who proved tonight that she values people over profit. Someone who reminds me why I built this empire in the first place. He glanced toward the window. To protect the people I love. Crystal followed his gaze.
Through the glass, she could see the garden.
Marcus was pushing Kim's wheelchair along a stone path.
Kim was pointing.
Directing him. Laughing. Marcus was laughing too. 2 kids. Different ages. Different worlds. But in this moment, just 2 people enjoying a garden. We're not so different, you and I, William said quietly. We're both defined by who we protect. What we'd sacrifice for them. What we'd do to keep them safe. Crystal watched Marcus. Watched him lean down to hear what Kim was saying. Watched him adjust the wheelchair so she could see the koi pond better. Her little brother. Almost grown now. Almost a doctor. Because of her sacrifices. This isn't charity, William said again. This is recognition. You earned this. Tonight.
6 years ago.
Every day since. You earned it. Crystal turned from the window. Looked at William Kapoor. The most dangerous man in the city. The most protective father she'd ever seen. 2 guardians. 2 protectors. 2 people who'd burn the world down for the ones they loved. Okay, Crystal said. I accept. William nodded. Something that might have been relief crossed his face. Good. They stood. Shook hands. A deal sealed. A partnership formed. Through the window, Marcus and Kim's laughter drifted up.
Pure. Happy. Free.
2 guardians stood in shared silence, recognizing each other across an impossible divide. Understanding that sometimes the most unlikely people find the deepest common ground.